Alright, welcome everyone. We're just going to create a world here. This is going to be 100 days in FTB Evolved. This is kind of the first video for the channel. I kind of did this a long time ago, but it never really took off, mainly because I had a much worse computer and those videos were god-awful. Hopefully this one's not too bad. I'm doing the voice as a voiceover. It would have been really awkward with how much footage I had for this video. I ended up having 32 hours, I think, just for the 100 days, and a lot of it's been edited out, as you can kind of tell by the length of the video. I wanted to keep most of the important stuff, so a lot of the early game is still in. Kind of jump around just to make it flow better. There's a lot of just wandering that was cut out, mainly when we eventually go to the end and kind of progress from there. But you can kind of just see I'm getting a lot of the little dungeon chests that were around because this pack adds in a ton of structures. Yeah, so I ended up walking for a bit and then found a biome not too far away. Kind of just set up shop there and decided we're just gonna stay here. I looted for a very long time because I did not want to have to get a lot of the basic resources. But yeah, this part is insanely sped up because it just took forever. Especially this artifact mod. Could not work out how to figure out how to unlock the abilities of the artifacts. It took an embarrassingly long amount of time. Yeah, I'm still working on it. I'll get it here in a sec. Maybe I won't. Still haven't got... Oh! There... Oh, I almost had it. There we go. Now I figured it out. So that's day one. I don't have an exact day counter for most of this, but you started day one into day two. I believe I jumped to about day 5 and 6. And then towards the end, it kind of goes in groups of 10 days because there was just not a whole lot happening. It was a lot of mining and building towards the end. I didn't get nearly as far as I wanted, but we ended up at least getting a major accomplishment done. At least I think it's a major accomplishment, because I could not think of how to do it earlier in the pack and then managed to. But yeah, kind of get a little bit of headway in all the mods. Mining out this geode thing, still have no idea what it was. It's just full of cobblestone. Again, looting more village. These villages were huge. I still think I missed chests because I just didn't see them all. Managed to find these rollerblades that kept annoying me, so I took them off. It basically just made me go so fast I kept slipping into things, and it was just not a fun time. But this is the biome we eventually settle in. I thought it'd be fun to put a factory in this really lush grassland. Got stuck in this packed snow because I'm still not really used to new Minecraft. I was stuck on 1.7 for the longest time. But yeah, I take off those rollerblades because it just kept annoying me. I'm a little bit slower, but at least I can control where I'm going. This skill tree mod was really fun. Managed to get so many resources because of the mining skill. You can get +4 to fortune. It just made things so easy. But yeah, we're back into the grassland biome. I set up a few chests, some furnaces, and then I went mining because I knew I needed a bunch of resources. There is an end goal to this pack. It's to complete a pyramid. It's like the FTB Pyramid. Did not have enough time. I completely overestimated how much I could do in 100 days. I basically got started on all the mods to be able to do it, but I didn't progress far enough in them. Which is okay. I mean, if I end up doing a part 2 to this, if people like it, hopefully they will. But, you know, it's hit and miss. We will manage to probably complete the pyramid because we'll have a very nice setup for doing that. It'll be a nice platform to jump off of. Here I just clear out a bunch of stuff. Kind of had some sorting, but I ended up not... here's the pyramid that I was talking about. It's a bunch of quests, and they're all painful. It's kind of expert style where you need a bunch of mods to kind of go together. I didn't really focus too much on the quest book. It's not really needed. It was mainly just there. Got a couple of resources from it, but it also kind of kept me on track to doing some things. Mainly applied energistics, because I haven't worked with the new version, so I had to kind of figure it out as I went. I'm still not used to the budding crystals, but I'm just doing some more exploring, just getting different resources in case I need them. I believe I go back to the village and kind of pillage a little bit more. Yeah. I really did that for the first, like, 4 or 5 days, because it was easier than actually going and mining. It's a lot of fun mods. I am kind of sad I didn't get as much into the magic side of things as I wanted, but it was a pretty good foundation for tech and infrastructure. Here I try to put in stuff, and I didn't realize that they changed the immersive crates, so I was still thinking they were like a shulker box, which they are in fact not, unless I think you seal them, and I really don't know how to do that in this version. So I think I just gave up with them. A lot of exploring and pillaging. It's a way of describing this entire run. I tried to figure out what I wanted to do base-wise. I ended up rebuilding the base, I think, 3 times because nothing looked right to me. I ended up settling on a design that I wasn't the most proud of, but it inside looked good. So I couldn't really complain. If we do end up doing a second part to this, I will be probably working on that, making it look like an actual proper factory. Put like some buildings around also, just making it look more complete as a base. I have a problem in Minecraft where I build way too big, way too quick without the proper resources, so sometimes it doesn't get completed. And it's just fun. Here I kind of show off the mining tree skill. I think I ended up with like 110% mining speed, fortune 4. I could vein mine 128 blocks, or I guess Alta mine. Yeah, that's what the mod is. But I did a lot of mining. I think my first like 25 days were mining after pillaging, because I knew I was going to need a ton of stuff, and I wanted to upgrade the mining skill. This clip's sped up about 500% as well. because I was in the caves for an ungodly amount of time. I managed to get deep enough that there's deep dark, and then this pack also has the infinity caves, which didn't know was a thing. Did not expect to go down to like Y negative 120. I'm still also getting used to negative caves, like the deep slate caves, because mining was not fun with that. Had to completely remember how to play Minecraft. Like I said, I tried to get a lot of resources. I used a magic mirror to teleport back up. That artifact saved me countless times. There's definitely a jump here because I tried to upgrade my storage a lot more because I just kept running out. I made iron furnaces so I could smelt things faster. I will be, I believe, making some basic machinery here soon. Yeah. I made some heat generators to get some power, and then I made a metallurgic infuser so I could start getting some of the mechanism alloys. I really wanted to get a jump on mechanism as my first mod so I could start trying to get more and more resources, work my way towards a digital miner. Then I also found out later in the pack that there's a machine that basically allows me to turn power into ores without mining them out of the world. I didn't use it a whole lot because I would have had to have completely changed what I was doing, but if I do 200 days, I will be definitely working on an automated way of doing that. Probably with A2's planes, the construction and deconstruction ones, so I can place the ores and then mine them with like Fortune 3. And then go through mechanisms 5x ore line, so I get the most resources out of an ore. But yeah, I'm just making some basic control circuits so I can work on a windmill. That way I don't have to keep burning coal, because that gets expensive after a while. There, I was just making some basic alloy because they changed it in this version. I thought it was still iron, but they switched it to copper, and that's actually one of my favorite changes because I hated using iron for the amount of alloy I was using. And copper really doesn't have that much of a use still, even in modded. But I'm thankful Mechanism added one that made a little bit more sense. There, I'm just making the energy tablets. And then the wind turbine. Me looking at the achievements because I'm not used to Mechanism having achievements like that. But then I got rid of my heat generators because they're so inefficient unless I'm doing something else with them, that like powering the tank that makes brine and lithium for the multi-blocks mechanism. I think I'm just searching up to remember what the enrichment chamber name was. But I made some steel, made an enrichment chamber so I could actually hook up my wind turbine. I placed it higher because in older versions, I don't know if it's still in the newer versions, but the higher you place them, the more efficient they were. But I was quite satisfied for the time being. I quickly went to upgrade my power after that. We ended up using a system of garden cloches and melon seeds to make biofuel into what used to be ethylene. It's now ethene. Um, the gas version of it is it's still called liquid ethylene, but mechanism had some changes I wasn't the happiest with, but overall, it was fun. It used to be one of my favorite mods just because it was what I liked machines until I found Greg Tech, and that's a whole other can of worms. But here I'm just upgrading my machines so they're a little bit faster. I didn't actually end up making speed upgrades for an incredibly long time, and I really regretted that. But I'm just kind of going through the quest book because free things are free things. I just waited way too long for that. Made the alloy. Just kind of sorting things out, making some more steel because I burned through so much steel. It was kind of crazy. Just had to smelt it because, of course, it doesn't make ingots. Got blocks of raw osmium, or blocks of osmium, not raw osmium, from a quest. And osmium was a problem for a little bit in the beginning because I think it takes diamond level now. Here's me setting up the first version of my biopower. I ended up using potatoes because that's what I had at the time, and then I managed to get melon seed, and then from there I just exponentially expanded my power. I made a jetpack so I could go explore faster. It came really useful when I fought the Ender Dragon because this pack actually modified it. It made it much more tanky, and I don't want to say powerful because it still wasn't like powerful, but it definitely made it more challenging. It shot a lot of lightning, which I was not expecting. Still a fun fight. Haven't gotten bored of it since it came out. But little variation isn't too bad. I made upgrades for the separator because it took 7 years to fill my jetpack. Also, I needed sand for glass, so I went exploring. This hang glider was really fun. Here's me also getting an applied energistics meteor, not realizing that it's the budded crystals. That took me a lot of time to get used to. I ended up just breaking a couple of them, getting the blocks as like the actual Certus Quartz blocks because I didn't want to wait for budding crystal. Made a cardboard box from Mechanism to actually transport one of the flawless ones. But yeah, I continued exploring for a little bit. Managed to get back to my area. Should be on about day 40-ish by now. I really screwed up when I didn't put in a day counter. I had to keep checking F3, but the F3 menu in this is really weird. I play on large UI because I have an ultra wide, so things look really weird if I have it on anything smaller than that. But in the F3 menu, everything's cut off after a point, and the day counter that's in there doesn't fit, so I had to keep changing it to medium UI size, and then you just can't see any of the text on the screen. Like, I had to kind of go up right next to my monitor to see it. But I ended up kind of keeping track there. I have a rough estimate. I know we hit 100 days, but other than that, I keep doing some more raiding, even though I don't really need to. I had plenty of stuff. I forget what I was looking for. Probably just resources. I kind of lost what I wanted to do for a bit, and then kind of figured out some things. I ended up having to reset the grow in size because it legitimately stopped me from being able to do like 90% of the things I wanted to do. It was just a simple command I had to look up because I had never played with this skill mod. But fixed that and then got back to progressing. Forget why I was looking up netherite. Probably to upgrade my armor. Never actually went with netherite. Had a lot of it towards the end. Here's phase 1 of the base. I thought I was going to like the blue and white. Didn't like it. Jumped towards me actually going to the stronghold because there wasn't a whole lot of progress in between that and here. I did build an applied energistic system, but I really needed to get to the end for ender pearls and endstone. I take a bit of a detour into Ender IO, mainly for ore processing. I get end steel grinding balls with the sag mill. It just ended up making me a ton of resources. I'm sad that it's not the Ender IO I'm used to, so there wasn't as much of the like armor and useful upgrades that it has in the 112 version. Maybe even the 116, I don't honestly remember. I didn't play a whole lot of 116 modded. Here, I'm just killing some Endermen, waiting for the dragon to appear because I didn't see it for the longest time. The Ender Dragon had 1,000 health for some reason, and it did a lot of damage, but I just kind of shrugged it off. I killed the dragon twice in this playthrough. The second time I ended up killing it much faster. And in a really stupid way. But the pack also lagged a lot, which was weird. Ticks kept skipping. I kept looking over at the console and it was just a bunch of red. I don't know if it's a world generation problem or what. I know the one biome mod doesn't like me. Here is the more finalized version of what I'm doing. It's a 65 by 65 square that I used the limestone brick and cobbled deep slate, like polished brick thing. Yeah, polished deep slate. I thought it was a good color combo. I ended up changing what the extended down bits of the limestone were. I turned it into this gray, like a dark gray block, so it made it look more brutalist. It kind of stays like a square. Not my best building. It's still a decent building. The inside looked a lot better than the outside. But it served its purpose. It's like that first night dirt house. It keeps you safe, and you can put all your stuff in it. I spent quite a few days getting the resources and just building because it just wasn't... I don't know. I just wasn't being entertained by building for some reason, and I usually love building. I did find out way later that there were actually builder's wands. They're just called sticks. Kind of threw me off, but I made a ton of those. played around with the little starbuncle because it spawned in. Here's a little bit later. I started actually laying out walls. I ended up changing them slightly after this. Not a whole lot. It still kind of keeps that blocky room. Here's the expanded power. I think I had 18 or 19 garden closures at the end. Then I'm making some more stuff for AE2. Going back to building, I ended up making a second floor. I kind of went with this 5x5 grid pattern. I thought it looked nice, fairly industrial. Here's my, ended up where this is my ore processing, just because those grinding balls were really good. I needed to make black dye for something. Oh, I was making an elevator without realizing I can then texture the elevator by putting a block on it. I figured that out a bit later, as I spam because I like elevators. Here's where I figure out that I can place blocks, and I'm like, oh. I made some of these frame slopes to just kind of smooth out the building a little bit. This is one of the parts that I wasn't as happy with. It just looks too, for Minecraft, blocky. I would change up those side pieces, like the corners. But I ended up leaving the floor and roof like that. I just ran out of time. But I liked the kind of hole in the front of the factory. Ended up using it towards the end to kind of finalize the video. Just thought it was a nice push off from it. I just fill in the rest of these slopes just to... I was trying to smooth out the factory. I like it on the top, but I start create way late, about day 80. I don't do the hand cranking much. I switch over to a steam engine really quick. I'm actually making the plates for the steam engine in this. But I don't go very far into create. Basically enough to set up a steam engine. I was also trying to feed it with lava, which I realized was not going to work the way I wanted it. I ended up going for the more cosmetic blaze burners, because I didn't need a whole lot of stress units. But I hook up this chain drive with my press, mixer, and mechanical deployers, because I wanted to make the variable speed controller. That was kind of my main goal with Create for this time. If there is a part 2, I will be going much further into that and a couple of the other mods I touched on towards the very end. Especially in Matacraft, there's a lot of the end game recipes that take new Matacraft machinery and using the pressure chamber. Here I am actually finishing up the pressure chamber. I made it and made some compressed iron. That's about all I did with Pneumaticraft, unfortunately. I got bored, so I decided to make some of the mystical agriculture seeds, and I put them up here. I ended up hooking it up to my ME system, and then I think I made about a stack of diamonds because I had diamond seeds planted. I think that's about all I did with mystical agriculture. This was towards the end where I was kind of running out of what I wanted to do with the amount of time I had. Yeah. I was looking at some of the end game recipes. This is one of them. I was trying to figure out how to do the Pagan Bless mod, but That'll be a part 2 thing if I end up making a part 2. I got closer to making the quantum singularity than I thought I would. I didn't have the quantum ME crafter, though. I started the occult mod. That looks like a really fun magic mod once I get into it. Reminds me very much of Witchery. But I did not have enough time to get as deep into it as I needed for the one pyramid item. I got to the Crusher, and then I was like, oh, it's day 95. That's not going to work. I went out to get tallow for candles because I didn't have any beeswax. That's me showing off the automation for some of the blocks that I did. It has the XY Craft mod, so it has the block extractors. I ended up setting up one for the Ender Dragon at the very beginning, thinking like, oh, it's modded Minecraft. I'll need a bunch of dragon eggs. Never end up using any of them, had an entire chest full of them, and then just put them in the system at the end. This is me just looking at the backlog of melons because I hadn't had one up until this point. And I was like, it's day 95. I finally have stable power. I mean, both of those generators together makes about 10k RF a tick. So I was good with power until the very end when I needed more. Never got that reactor up. Never needed to. That's the laser thing. I ended up unintentionally finding the NPC for the Eternal Starlight. Took a slight detour into that. Never heard of the mod. It was incredibly laggy because of one of the world gen mods. I don't know if my computer's just throwing a fit with it or what. Didn't spend too long there. Started on Forbidden Arcanus. Some of the endgame stuff also needs that. I spent a while looking for the Edelwood. Never found one, had to make the sapling for it. Here's me fighting the Ender Dragon the second time, because I realized one way of getting flight at the very end, and that's kind of my overall accomplishment for the 100 days. I genetically modified myself in 100 days. I basically killed the Ender Dragon using a scraper and got a bunch of its cells and made its the flight genome and a couple of the other ones that I need so I could actually have the flight ability. And my overall accomplishment was flight. It's a little more lackluster than I wanted, but I think it was enough of an accomplishment that I could happily leave the series there. But I would like to do a part 2, if I can. Maybe not 100 days, maybe 50 days. The 100 days kind of killed me. Would not recommend doing that as your first proper video. But had fun. I always liked playing Minecraft. It's one of my favorite games growing up. I hate that I've been playing this game since 2009. Really reminds me that I'm old. But, yeah. Thank you for watching.